Alrighty, so today we're going to be talking about cellular respiration. So cellular respiration is what we as humans do to breathe. It's how we get our energy in our bodies from breathing. So the location of cellular respiration, where do humans make energy? We already talked about this. Where does energy get created in the body? In the mitochondria. So cellular respiration is occurring in the mitochondria. Okay? And just like for photosynthesis, there's a reaction occurring. And this reaction is C6H12O6, or sugar, plus 6O2 yields or creates 6H2O plus 6CO2. Now when you look at this equation, do you notice anything particular about it or anything recognizable? It is the exact opposite of photosynthesis. Okay, whereas plants take in water and CO2, we as humans give off water and CO2 while taking in sugar and oxygen, which plants get off. This is why we need plants to survive. Plants are giving off things that we need to survive. So sugars we get from our foods we eat. We're breathing in oxygen that plants give off. Whereas water, of course, is always around, but we're breathing out CO2, which plants take in. The purpose of the cellular respiration, it's an aerobic process. An aerobic process that converts chemical energy in glucose, so in sugars, into usable energy, or ATP, CO2 in water. So basically this is just the formula in words. So aerobic, what does aerobic mean? Aerobic means that something requires oxygen. Okay, it requires oxygen. So we know that we as humans need oxygen to breathe. Later next week, we are going to talk about processes that don't require oxygen and how other things how other things make energy without oxygen. Okay. Now, I know photosynthesis was confusing. Cellular respiration is a little bit harder. So I'm going to zoom in here on my picture so that we have a little bit more room to work with some things. Okay. So here is a picture of the mitochondria where cellular respiration is happening. And there's different steps to cellular respiration, okay? The first step, step one, is what is called glycolysis. Glycolysis. And what does the prefix glyco mean? Glyco means sugar, and we know that lysis means to break down. So glycolysis is literally the breaking down of sugars. Okay? And this is happening outside the mitochondria. It's happening outside of the mitochondria. And like I said, we're breaking down sugars. And what happens in glycolysis is 2 ATP are made. 2 ATP are made. So glycolysis makes 2 ATP. And it also makes some other processes, or other things. So the products of glycolysis, the products are going to enter the mitochondria. Okay, so the products of glycolysis are entering the mitochondria, and they're going into the second phase of cellular respiration, which is what's called the Krebs cycle. Oh, this marker stinks. Okay, they're going into the Krebs cycle. That marker also stinks. I guess I'll switch to black. Krebs, Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle. And in the Krebs cycle, we give off 2 CO2, or not 2 CO2, just CO2, and we're giving off 2 ATP. Okay, we're giving off CO2 and 2 ATP. The Krebs cycle also makes electron carriers, those NADPH, and what's called FADH2. I don't care that you really know what those things are, but you need to know that they're created. And they go into the electron transport chain. They go into the electron transport chain, which is another little cycle that occurs. And after the electron transport chain, this requires O2, okay? So O2 is now coming into the electron transport chain. So we're bringing in oxygen, and we're giving off H2O. So notice here we gave off 2 CO2 in glycolysis. We gave off ATP, sorry. We gave off 2 ATP in glycolysis, 2 ATP in the Krebs cycle. The electron transport chain gives off 32 ATP. 32 ATP. Okay, so we're giving off quite a bit more ATP in the electron transport chain. So the electron transport chain is super important. Okay. So overall, our steps of cellular respiration are glycolysis, which gives off 2 ATP, the Krebs cycle, 2 more ATP, and then the electron transport chain. Oh, sorry, you can't see what I'm writing. Wrong way. Let me get rid of this. The electron transport chain which gives off 34 ATP. And those are your notes for cellular respiration.